talk to us a little bit about your experience, like before we get into this, because you are one of the rock stars. And I should mention, we used to work together. You worked on technology marketing reports with us, which was a phenomenal ride. That was just such a good time. Such a good time. 0 to like 200 employees in 18 months and around, US, Canada, England. And that was fun. But so tell us about, like, you've got this unbelievable track record. Tell us about your past experience that you draw on. Just give us a quick overview of what do you think, helped you to get to this point where you can go in, analyze, figure out problem is, and then execute on the plan.
So I think, Larry, I've been I think genuinely I've been really fortunate to just have been in the right time with different companies as they've been, where they're at, and I've been able to join them. The experience that I've had, before you and I met. I mean, I started off life as a university student, and then I became a school teacher, and then I wanted to be a wannabe rock star in a rock band, and well, maybe that was with the long hair and all that stuff. But
right.
That was a moment in time, and then I became MD of a small manufacturing company.
MD for the U.S. folks is managing director, which would be equivalent to like CEO or president.
CEO of a relatively small sub $1 million business at that time, which was a lot of money, I guess, in those days. But and that's a story for another time. But we managed to transform the performance of that business on a bet, and then I joined a much larger company, still UK based, maybe with 10,000 employees in manufacturing, and that also became a turnaround story. It wasn't just me; there were 8 people. So I was young; I was in my 30s, but learning about transforming businesses.
And that was that the office furniture company?
Yeah, partly office furniture, but that was a business that was, it's a company called Remploy. They were founded by the government at the end of the Second World War to provide employment and training for disabled servicemen. That was its foundation. Okay. It's a really interesting story for another time. But in that's kind of where I learned about lean manufacturing. In the nature of that. But it wasn't just furniture. We had engineering business. We had technology business. There were maybe 100 factories. So we had 100 different businesses operating businesses. But I learned about structure, process, lean manufacturing, and so on. And I learned by then I was already in the sales world as well as sales and marketing. And then in the early 90s, I joined this conglomerate. I joined a conglomerate who they were bigger. They were now international in the sense that they were pan-European or a European business, not UK business. And they bought and sold companies, and they buy businesses, reasonable sized businesses, I guess $10, $15, $20 million business and more. They would take cost out very quickly, and my job was to make it grow very quickly. Mm-hmm. And so we'd drive up fit, which you can do like that. You take out, drive up profit, drive up sales, and then they sell it. And so it was a formula. I remember my boss at the time. He had a little piece of paper, and he had some financial ratios on the piece of paper. And no matter what the business was, we would overlay these financial ratios on the company, and then we cut and drive it forward. And it was exciting for me in the beginning, to be part of this mergers and acquisitions team. I learned a lot. But then the end for me, it was a bit repetitive, in that we were really all we were doing was firing lots of people and taking cost out and driving profits up, and it just wasn't rewarding. I mean, I was there 8 years, and then I said go on my own, and I think around that time, that's kind of when you and I met, at the back end of that period, and then from there on in, over the past 20 odd years, having created my own consultancy. I mean, I told you the story, but when I came to meet you guys, I mean, you were transformational for me because I'd gone from my ivory tower in this sort of corporate world of buying and selling businesses, and I flew out here to meet you guys, and we partied on the weekend, and then we at 5 o'clock on a Monday morning, I remember it, we were in your offices picking up the phone and hustling business, and then with Bill Dillon and you, and going out to the streets of New York and doing flybys in New York before 9/11, but doing flybys in New York, looking at the these skyscraper buildings and looking on the billboards and see who's a likely target for us. That was complete alien for me. I'd never experienced anything like that in my sales world, and so it was. But what it did, it brought me back down to reality. It brought me back down to the tangible, the hardwood. What do people actually do to sell? And then and of course, then the whole TMR thing was immensely successful. Yeah. And then I had a string of other successes that were businesses where I was just introduced to one, to the other, and so on, just through referral. And in the beginning, it was you kind of look at the if you get high growth in a business and fairly quickly, and you think, well, maybe that was a fluke. Maybe it was just okay. Yeah, we worked hard and we got it, but and then you do it the second time and think, well, maybe there's something in this. It's still, but sales guys get lucky. I mean, I don't class myself as a sales guy anymore, but as time moved on, you realize that it's not a fluke at all. It is actually a repeatable process that you can do to get companies to grow, and that's kind of what I do now. That's what I do today.